welcome. It is I'm Raiden back yet again. And yes, I'm back in this spot. I mean, as if you probably even noticed, no one watches this crap anyway. But yeah, I'm not at my desktop with the whole setup and all this. Just a nice, casual, comfy way of doing this. And it's just on a whim. I wasn't really planning on doing this, but that's kind of just going with the flow thus far. Trying to mix things up a bit. Whatever. Anyway, on to the topic at hand. Now, this is kind of a follow-up to my previous video discussing Hogwarts Legacy, the backlash, and the hype that's building for the game. Obviously, you have what's been proven basically a small percentage of people trying to boycott the game, even though sales numbers are off the charts. People have been waiting for this. Harry Potter fans, just gamers in general, people have been waiting for a game like this involved with this lore for a long time. And we're finally getting it, but of course, we don't really know what the true quality of the game is going to be until we actually play it. And thus far, for me, I'm keeping my expectations rather tempered. I haven't really been delving heavily into the details of the game as they've been coming out, mostly just these last couple of months as it's getting closer and we're getting more significant details, if you will. And so I'm expecting the game to be rather decent. It's just a matter of it doesn't need to be as heavily open as like Mass Effect, GTA type of thing. It's just more, I'm fine with even the castle setting itself. It's just the finer details within the castle and how much, say, differences between the houses, like how significant are the differences between each playthrough, good or bad type of wizard, whatever. That's really what it comes down to, but I guess we'll see. But really the main point of the video is discussing extreme levels of rating something per se. Like, rating something a 10 out of 10 by default. Rating something a 1 out of 10 by default. And this can also apply to the third episode of The Last of Us. Now, I'm not really going to make this a whole Last of Us discussion. I really have no investment in The Last of Us at this point in time. The first game, I didn't even play that until, the remaster came out for the PS4. I liked it. Yeah, it was a great, solid story. Whatever. Part 2 came out. I saw all that, and obviously, I just didn't feel like I wanted to waste my time with it. So that was all said and done. And with the TV show, of course, right now, yeah, knowing the bad taste that came off of The Last of Us Part 2, and just really in general, the kind of post-apocalyptic zombie type of thing, been there, done that with The Walking Dead. I mean, I gave up on The Walking Dead ages ago. And so it does kind of technically fall into that category, even though if it's based off of something, say the one singular game by itself, I still really had no general interest as a whole. And right now, the way it's going, it's just whatever. And so it's the same thing with the third episode, like review bombing. There can be positive review bombing as well. People don't seem to understand this. Yeah, people will review bomb something, and a lot of times they may have a general point, like why they don't like this one particular thing is because they're going so far off the rails of what was presented to them, what was advertised to them, or based off of the general source material that they're divulging away from. They just don't care, And so there's a time and a place for review bombing, if you will, to some extent. But that's not really my style anyway. I mean, if you're going to also review bomb something, at least do it smart. Rate it a 3 out of 10 or something. Or if you're going to say it's perfect, which more than likely it is not, rate it a 7 out of 10. Like, people need to stop going to one extreme or the other. Something is not automatically a 10 out of 10 just because you liked it initially. Something is not automatically dog shit just because you didn't like it initially, okay? There's usually a gray area there, 8, 9, 7, 3 or 4, something, we can have a middle ground, you know that, right? And this is also pertaining to a lot of people on Twitter, like some people who are obviously, like someone had tweeted, oh, conservatives are pushing Hogwarts Legacy and this and that, and the game looks like dog shit. It just looks like a rip-off Destiny. First of all, you already came in with the preconceived notion just because, oh yeah, conservatives are pushing the game, even though you've had, again, 20 plus years of young Harry Potter fans been building themselves up who lived, breathed, ate fucking Harry Potter lore. All right, this has nothing to do with any of that, really, for the most part. Like, the majority of the people playing this game are just Harry Potter fans that want to enjoy it. And so when it comes to this idea, so even if you like, so if you take away that preconceived notion, so automatically a game is dog shit because it's comparable to another game of its type, even though they're usually, most games have a certain standard or a certain blueprint, if you will, like the dodge roll and this and that. Be like, oh yeah, that's not in anything like an Elden Ring or something like that. So I can't really experience one game or the other because they're both identical. So even if one is better, I might be a little bit more hyped for, or because it pertains to this certain lore. Yeah, I may want to play that more. I may, play that for months on, then maybe wait for the next game to go on sale. And then buy that later. It's like, oh, hey, play that. Oh, yeah, not as good as this one, but hey, it's actually pretty good. I'm glad I played that. So automatically we have to write off the other one because this one over here exists, or because I have this preconceived notion, because, for reasons about this. Like, what sense does that make? Why do we have to default to something being the bestest ever, or nah, complete dog shit, 1 out of 10? Woke, this and I mean, trust me, I'm not for, any of, like, I don't try to push it that hard one way. Obviously, I lean more towards the idea. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of, is people just being way too sensitive about things, okay? The fact that you have to race swap every other character and this and that, it's a little bit absurd. I mean, it gets to a point in time where you start to notice the pattern and it starts to become a bit redundant. It's just like, now all of a sudden this character is black that I didn't realize, or even if you turn the character white, why would I want, do I want to see a white blade? No, not really. I mean, I'm a hardcore like James Bond fan, and I'm a huge fan of Casino Royale. That's like one of my favorite movies. Felix Leiter in there is black, played by Jeffrey Wright. That didn't bother me because, well, it was just, or hell, you could go back to when they made Judi Dench M in Goldeneye, one of the best Bond movies ever. And a lot of people look at that as like, no, that's just a great fucking decision. That was a more organic decision. That's when you can change something. And some people are just hardcore, like anti, no, keep it to the character, which I understand to an extent. But there are times where it's paid off. Again, like Judi Dench's M, a woman, where she called him a sexist, misogynist dinosaur in that movie. And it created a nice dynamic between that character and the Bond character throughout the 7-film tenure that Judi Dench took place in between the Brosnan era and the Craig era. Those are examples when it's done organically and it wasn't made to fit a narrative. Where now it's like every other thing that where it's inorganic, it doesn't feel natural, where clearly you're doing it for your own ideologies or something like that, and it just feels like you're just picking and choosing. There's a time and a place for a lot of things, and that's really what it comes down to. It's about balance. We don't have to fall into the utmost extremes. I'm sure once I'm done with this video, I'm sure someone will leave a comment trying to talk some shit or try to say I'm ignorant. I'm giving you a fair assessment, aren't I? But that's just the way it is, and that's what I mean. Is things can work one way or the other. And so as far as, yeah, The Last of Us episode 3, is it the best episode of television ever? I highly doubt that. But I guess for some people, it's a 10 out of 10, best thing ever. I'm just, by default, I really have a hard time. Even some of my most favorite things of all time, I could rarely ever give a perfect score. Nothing is truly perfect. I mean, if you feel like something is close enough, I mean, I could defy like The Shawshank Redemption as practically a perfect film in regards, just because of the way that it's done and this and that, and the filmmaking, the storyline, how it gives such a nice message and just gives characters such a nice journey. Yeah, it's practically a perfect, but is it perfect? It's like, no. Yeah, at best it's probably for a lot of people a 9 or something like that. You know what I mean? Not everything has to fall into the utmost extreme every single time. It doesn't have to be a 10 just because, oh yeah, you're championing this type of thing, or it doesn't have to be a 1 automatically because of this. I mean, it's just, we can find a balance here, okay? There's gray areas that we can, everything's a fine line. Take things on a case-by-case basis. That's how it should be. But of course, we're not really in that sort of realm as it were right now. People are just going to do what they want to do to push their own agendas, their own ideologies, one way or the other. And I'm not here to try to give you that, okay? I may have something you disagree with every now and again, but that's how I view things. There's a balance to that. And of course, a lot of people, again, they're not going to play fair about it. They're still going to do their thing. And a lot of people don't really deserve certain respect because, well, they just will flat out disregard you or call you names, this and that. And that's just the way it is. And obviously, those people do not deserve your respect. I mean, if you're going to throw shit, you can expect shit thrown back at you from time to time. That's just the way it works. But anyway, yes, that'll do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, then well, I guess that is what it is. Anyway, I am Raiden, and I am out.